Okay, let's just take a quick reference back to our Hive architecture to see, again, what we're doing as it'll apply to this next step. So do remember, now that we are implementing MariaDB, the HiveServer2 and the Metastore server run as two separate services. In our Hive site, these two properties here are JAVX JDO option and connection password username information is relating to the Metastore server details. Remember when we set up MariaDB and we added in Hive user Prog 1733 as its password and added full permissions to the Metastore DB? Well, these details are being passed through Hive site, so the Metastore can use those to run its service. Okay. Now the other part of our details were here. HiveServer2 authentication means that this server here will not require any authentication. When we access the beeline, in our subsequent videos, you're going to see we're not going to provide any username or password, okay? And we're going to see that HiveServer2 is listening on port 10,000, okay? So we'll see that now as we start up the two services. Okay, now I'm going to provide you with this syntax because this is my preferred syntax, and as you can see, it's a little syntax heavy. This line of code is really equivalent to these two lines of code. Here's why I like this version better. Okay, so you can see this is the way we would set up our two services and have them run. Okay, however, if we run them this way, we will lose a console window because it will send all log information to that console window. And that can become a little hard to find when we're looking for problematic occurrences. If we run our services this way, the parentheses means it's going to run both commands in a little subshell. No hang-up means that it's going to start up these services, and if we close out of that terminal window, the services will keep on running. I like that. If we don't do it this way, we do it this way, you close out of the shell and it's running, those services stop. Okay. Here, no hang up means they'll continue to run even if you close out of that terminal window. As you can see, as we start up the services, it'll log any details to these log files. And the ampersand means run it in the background, and so we don't lose that console window. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. We'll come over into our console. Again, keeping in mind, if you're stopping and starting the work, again, just make sure that you've got your daemons running. Okay, and so I'm going to paste these lines of code here. And now we've just started up both the Metastore. Now, because we've done it through this no hang-up method, we don't see any evidence of the services running, and we do want to make sure that they are running. So there are a couple of checks that we can do. One check is through a netstat command, and I installed some network tools on your VM so you have access to it. So we're going to refer to netstat. And then we're going to pass it some parameters. So we're going to go -t means, show us any TCP information, U for any UDP information, L referring to listening ports, and N, give us the number of those ports. And then we will restrict our search for, I'm going to use a grep for this. The one port we're interested in is 9083, okay? And 9083, this is going to refer to the Metastore, okay? So we'll run that, and we'll see that, yes, that's good. So the Metastore is listening on port 9083. We're happy about that. I'm going to hit my up key, and now we're going to go see about the HiveServer2. As we said, that's on port 10,000. And it's listening. Now, I've been talking a little bit and pausing my video, and so you're seeing that happen quite quickly. I will let you know that if you do a grep on 10,000 using netstat, this takes a little while to start up. Sometimes I would say you have to wait a couple of minutes. So you'll find that the listening for 9083, you'll see it quite quickly. If you run this command and you don't see anything happen, don't worry. It takes a little while for it to actually connect to the port and get active there. So give it a couple minutes, okay? And so you can keep on running this command until you see that listening on port 10,000. Okay, so if you see that, life is good, you can move on. And there's one other check we can do. Now we can make sure, can we actually access the Metastore and run queries through our beeline? Now it starts a little different here. We've accessed the beeline before, but we're going to access it in a different way. So we just start off saying beeline, okay? And we are at the beeline prompt. We're not actually connected yet. So now we have to provide it some connection details, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. So we're going to do an exclamation here, and then the word connect. And then what follows it is something we've done before when we were accessing the beeline. So we're going to say through JDBC : and we're accessing the HiveServer2. So we're going to say Hive2. And of course it's on localhost. And of course we've got to mention that port 10,000. So we'll go : 10,000 and hit enter. And of course now here's where we were talking about the fact that we set up HiveServer2 authentication to be none. So when it's prompting for a username, just hit enter. We're not going to provide a username. When it provides a password prompt, we're just going to say enter nothing, because we have no authentication happening there. Okay, now I'm just going to clear the screen with a Control L. Oh, hang on, to Control L, and we're going to go to the top here. So we can now go show databases. And of course now we should be able to see there's our default database. We haven't made any databases yet, but now this is confirmation that we are actually querying MariaDB's Metastore. And of course, because the Metastore only has the default database showing right now, no user-defined databases have been made. We don't see anything else. But this confirms that we've actually initialized our database install correctly. And now what we have to do is just a few details to get Spark integrated into this entire scenario. I'll see you for that in the next video.